You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hello, and thanks for joining Revolution 250, where we look at events that took place 250 years ago this week. This is from the American Revolution podcast, but this is just a short bonus episode to remind you about important anniversaries from the Revolutionary War. This week, we remember British orders to General Gage that were received on April 14th, 1775. General Gage had been sent to take command of Massachusetts in the summer of 1774. The new colonial governor came with orders to enforce the coercive acts on the colony and restore order. Like most leaders in London, Gage had been critical of his predecessor as being too weak and compromising, allowing the locals to challenge authority. That needed to stop. After Gage's arrival, he closed Boston Harbor, banned town meetings, and replaced elected officials with those that he appointed. The colonists took up arms and chased Gage and his army into Boston. Gage's view of the colonists changed very quickly. He realized that this problem was not a few rabble-rousers who could be arrested. It was the entire colony that was willing to take up arms and challenge efforts to take away their rights to an elected government. By the fall of 1774, Gage remained in Boston with his army, unable to project power into the rest of the colony. He ordered a few raids over the winter to try to secure arms and ammunition from the rebels, but even those met with mixed success. He sent panic messages to London, calling on them to send many more soldiers. Gage had started with an army of about 2,000, but he said he needed far more. He called on officials back home to send as many as 20,000. When officials in London received these letters, they were incredulous. Gage was not facing an army. He was facing a disorganized group of angry farmers. Everyone knew that trained and disciplined regulars could defeat far larger numbers of civilians with guns. The British leadership thought Gage had simply lost his nerve. They sent orders demanding that he arrest rebel leaders, seize their arms, and just end this thing. The notion of sending 20,000 soldiers to Boston was just crazy. I mean, the entire British army across the whole empire totaled only around 50,000 at this time. A big problem in all of this was the time it took for a letter to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Messages could regularly take 2 or 3 months to reach a recipient. Given the speed at which things were changing in Massachusetts, it was impossible to provide timely orders and feedback. At the end of January 1775, Secretary of State Lord Dartmouth wrote a lengthy letter to Governor Gage telling him that a crazy number of reinforcements was not possible and not necessary. Gage had been able to increase the size of his army by pulling regiments from other locations in North America and would receive some small number of reinforcements, which brought his army up to around 4,000. In this letter, Lord Dartmouth told Gage, quote, "I have stated that the violences committed by those who have taken up arms in Massachusetts Bay have appeared to me as the acts of a rude rebel without a plan, without concert, and without conduct. And therefore I think that a smaller force, now, if put to the test, would be able to encounter them with greater probability of success than might be expected from a greater army." Dartmouth continued on with his letter to instruct Gage to arrest and imprison the leaders of this rebellion, put those in the illegal provincial congress into prison, and continue efforts to seize cannons and dismantle fortifications that could be used against His Majesty's forces. Essentially, Dartmouth was telling Gage to grow a backbone. He had been sent to impose discipline on the colony and just seemed to be upset that the colonists did not like the discipline. Surely, his professional army was capable of showing who was in charge. Although Dartmouth had written this letter in January, it did not reach Gage in Boston until April 14th, 1775. On receipt of this letter, Gage realized that London expected him to act with the resources that he already had. While he was still not ready to arrest any rebel leaders, Gage did decide that he would order another raid to secure rebel arms. This time, the target would be cannons that were in Concord. Just 5 days after receiving this letter, General Gage ordered a large contingent of his army to march on Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775. Thanks for joining me for this Revolution 250 moment. For more on these events, please listen to episode 50 of the American Revolution podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please look forward to more to come.